the world experiences the disappearance of 2% of its population.
Daddy! Where are you?
3 years later, the small town of Mapleton struggles to adapt. Sheriff Kevin Garvey tries to hold the community together as the events continue to tear them apart in HBO's The Leftovers.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm here with Sean and Liz. We are here to talk about HBO's new drama, The Leftovers. We've all just seen it. We've seen 4 episodes. Sean, what did you think?
Me?
Yes.
It's better than 3-day-old meatloaf. Get
Zing.
it? Because that would be a leftover. If you had that 3 days afterwards.
I'm sorry that you have to deal with this on a
all
daily
the time.
basis.
Every day.
So this is based on a novel by Tom Perrotta, who also is the co-creator here with Damon Lindelof, who, of course, is behind Lost several years ago, which I liked Lost, but some of the skepticism for Lost, in retrospect, is valid. The fact that we had a whole bunch of intriguing concepts that went absolutely nowhere. And this show is starting out the same way. I'm super intrigued by everything that's going on. I like the characters. I like the questions that are being raised. I have some of my own, but I'd like to dub a term, if I can, and call this Lindelof skepticism. Because for every element that comes out where I'm like, that's super interesting, that's super intriguing, I'm going, they are never going to answer this question for me.
Is that going to be the smoke monster of this show? Is that going to be the polar bear of this show? I'm waiting for that,
You know what
too.
the smoke monster of the show is? The event. We're never going to find out. Like in the book, apparently you don't find out.
Of why it happened?
Right. So I'm hoping that they've decided to add that.
You kind of have to, or fans are not going to be satisfied at all. You have to give some explanation.
My problem so far is that we're in 4 episodes in, and I feel like we've learned nothing. Like we don't have answers to anything.
I don't care.
And they keep on adding more and
I don't care
more.
at all.
I'm getting frustrated because that's what Lost did.
But I love that this show deals with the same questions of Lost, but in a less cheesy way. It's still dealing with like faith versus science. It's still dealing with these dualities, but it's in like the most interesting context you can have.
The whole town, the same place at the same time. On the anniversary. You're inviting them to show up.
The GR isn't a threat. If they want to stage a nonviolent protest, that's their right.
You were at the homecoming. They walked right onto the field.
And then they walked right off. No harm done.
They are trying to provoke us.
This was a global event.
Right.
And we are concentrating on a very small group of people,
It's
which
like
is
Under the Dome, but much better than Under the Dome.
You can compare it to Under the Dome. I mean, listen, it's based on a novel. It is about this crazy event that happens that you're trying to figure out the answers to why it happened and who's involved and whatnot. I do think that so far this is a much better show than Under the Dome, which didn't do enough with its situation and just created a lot of, silly drama around it.
Hooey.
Hooey's a good word for it.
It's so good. It's so good, Sean.
I don't know if it's so good. Like the guilty remnant that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Fascinating, but at the same time, I'm scratching my head because I'm going, Damon Lindelof or Tom Perrotta, whichever one, has created a group that can't explain themselves because they have taken a vow of silence.
I don't care.
Thanks
Amy
a lot,
Brenneman is
man.
sitting there, and she's not saying a word, and I love watching her.
Very good.
Love watching
I
her.
do like watching her, and I love Ann Dowd. My biggest fear, though, is that the show is so depressing and there's no levity at all, except for one scene where they talk about who gets taken and like all the celebrities, like the Pope and J-Lo, which seemed really out of place. But there's nothing funny about it. Everybody's depressed, nobody's happy, and after 4 episodes, I was like, God, I feel awful right now. And so I want to know what's going to happen, but I'm like, but do I really want to find out what happens? Because I feel terrible.
I want to know.
But I think that's an extension of the premise. I mean, if this occurred in real life, I don't know that the mood of the country or the world would be
I understand,
in high
but it's
spirits.
a TV show, and I want
Sure.
something to make me feel like not like I want to slit my wrist by the end
Justin
of it.
Theroux is very attractive.
Well, distractingly attractive.
Distractingly attractive.
Right. I was like, and finally they called it out and said like,
Your ex-husband is
the hot cop.
the hot
and I was
cop.
like, oh, yeah,
Well,
he is.
Yeah. He's an actor that I never exactly noticed before. I've always sort of said, oh, he's pretty good, but I think he really shines in this show.
He's
This is a
wonderful.
great role, and he takes the ball and runs with it.
All units on foot, north side of the park, now.
You know, one of my favorite things about preternatural shows is when they take an event such as that or any sort of supernatural occurrence and just look at how people deal with it. I
Yes,
find
the
those types of
small
shows,
moments.
yeah, those shows are fascinating because you wonder, like, you know, people who live in a haunted house, how do they deal with their everyday life? Those are the things that fascinate me. So that's what I do like and appreciate about this. The Leftovers has an intriguing premise and a great pedigree. I wish it would answer some more questions, but I'm still going to say, see it.
There's some elements here left over from Lost, and it's going to have a bumpy road trying to answer all its questions, but it's super intriguing. So I say see it.
The show is so infectious, I just want to find out more. See it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh.